If you haven't heard, information about the bling bling Bishop Lamor Whitehead keeps on coming in, and it's not looking good, even though he seems to be unbothered and living his best life. Welcome to the Charley Reed Show with your host, Charley Reed. Welcome to Stay Tuned, where I follow and report on stories that are constantly updating in the news and online because most of the times the characters involved are doing too much. Bishop Lamor Whitehead, whose church was robbed while live streaming during a Sunday service, has sparked the interest of the public, vloggers, rappers, news stations, the Brooklyn Supreme Court, Tik Tok investigators, Christians, atheists, anarchists, Buddhists, and the FBI, because of a long history of identity theft and fraud, which made people question whether he orchestrated the robbery of himself and his wife on that Sunday morning live stream service. Well, there are just a couple of developments amongst many that I want to highlight. Now, I know the first one is petty, but I just can't get past it. On a recent interview with the popular vlogger Tasha K of Unwind with Tasha K, Bishop Lamor mispronounced a name that every African American should know how to pronounce. Here is the audio.
I understand what Claretta King felt like.
He said Claretta King, as in Coretta Scott King, the wife of Martin Luther King Jr., who was an African American Baptist minister and activist who became the most visible spokesman and leader in the civil rights movement from 1955 until his assassination in 1968.
I understand what Claretta King felt like.
I'll just leave that right there. At Bishop Lamor's press conference that he hosted not long after the church robbery, he proclaimed that gun laws in New York needed to change. Here is a small portion of his call to bear arms, spoken aggressively and with as much confidence as his denial of stealing Pauline Anderson's retirement savings. He said, quote, "No matter if we have a record, it should be exempt," Whitehead said. "So we should be able to bear arms as the Constitution says," end quote. A reporter asked New York City Mayor and friend Eric Adams what he thought about Bishop Lamor's statement, and the mayor responded with a flat no, and walked off in another direction to answer another question. Oop. The bishop was also asked about the speculation that the jewelry heist was planned for insurance money. In a previous video I did about the bishop, I questioned how many pieces of jewelry were stolen. According to EurWeb.com, he said, quote, "There's a lot of buzz in the media and on the internet that this was insurance fraud, but no one has offered any evidence. Why do you think this has become part of the narrative? It's unreal. They turned me from being a victim to a villain. I believe, and don't quote me, but I think it was about 12 to 15 pieces that were stolen between me and my wife. Only 3 pieces were insured." And wow. He's still not sure what jewelry he and his wife were wearing that day, but he does know how many pieces were insured. And is it just me? But is 12 to 15 pieces of jewelry kind of excessive, even for 2 people? And although the bishop appears to feel like he is in the lion's den, he did receive some good news recently. In the case of Pauline Anderson, who was suing the bishop for a total of $1 million, there will be no default judgment entered against the bishop because Pauline Anderson did not properly serve him his motion papers. However, it's a technical win, so it is possible for her and her attorney to get this judgment in the future. I have a feeling that Bishop Lamor's 15 minutes of fame may last longer than expected because there is so much more to unravel. Stay tuned for some more developments on this case, and in the meantime, live your best life. Bloopers. And although the bishop appears to feel like he is in the lion's den, he did receive some good news recently. In the case of Pauline Anderson, who is suing the bishop for a total of $1 million, there will be no default judgment entered again. Bishop Lamor Whitehead, whose church was robbed while live streaming during a Sunday service, has sparkled.